The International AIDS Conference is one of the largest gatherings in global health. It also provides an opportunity for the world to come together to translate the latest evidence into action and accelerate the fight to end HIV. This year's conference was held in Munich, that's in Germany, and the theme underscores a clarion call for all stakeholders to strengthen efforts in deepening human rights, providing adequate healthcare facilities and protecting civil rights. Let's speak more about this and bring in our guest, Rev Zwoitwaho Nevhutalu, who is with the SA National AIDS Council and joins us now via our video link. Rev, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks very much indeed for making time to speak to us. I wonder if there were any kind of new preventative strategies that were discussed at this year's conference.
Yes, certainly there were, but I think it's quite important to indicate that this conference was being held at a time when a lot of progress has been made. But however, HIV and AIDS still remains a big challenge globally. We have a situation where a person dies every minute as a result of AIDS-related illnesses. And we still have about 1.3 million new infections globally. So they were quite, it was an exciting conference. It was focusing on issues of the role of communities in reaching the 2030 targets of ending HIV and AIDS as a public health threat. And I think that the star of the conference was the release of the results on a preventative drug called lenacapavir. So that was a very big issue at the conference spoken about, and it looks like it's a big game changer if it will ever be rolled out.
Are we still on track to reaching some of those goals by 2030, keeping in mind that's only 6 years from now?
The director of UNAIDS during the opening ceremony of the conference actually summed it as the road is clear, we can reach 2030. The 2030 was a date committed by global leaders all over the world. We can reach it provided that commitment does not wane. There are some indications, for instance, where we see reduced funding resources being put into the response, and that is a threat to reaching that particular goal. But if we were to put our efforts together and have all hands on the deck, get the proper leadership from governance, put in resources, the conference was saying that at the outcome of the conference, there is hope. Light at the end of the tunnel, we can reach the 2030 targets of eliminating HIV and AIDS as a public health threat.
Yeah, and for viewers who aren't necessarily aware what that means, I wonder, Rev, if you can break it down for us. I mean, there's ending HIV and AIDS, and there's also making sure that it's no longer a public health threat, as you've mentioned. And I know this is also in part aligned to those, I think it's 1990 goals that were set by the UN some time ago.
Yes, I mean, clearly by 2030, we will still be having people living with HIV and AIDS.
Right.
So with HIV, because they will still be alive, and we would want them to live much longer. So if it is ended, it means those people are going to live much longer. But the big issue about ending it is that while you have people who are living with a virus, which we call a prevalence rate, you actually drop the incidence rate to something which is statistically negligible. It means that while you have a cohort of people on treatment, you are not adding new ones. So if those people are going to live very long life, productive life, but when they go, it will be the end of the virus as we know it.
I wonder how much work has also gone into understanding vulnerable groups, Rev, because we know that this is something that also features often when this particular gathering sits. The extent to which, for example, we're able to protect individuals in those groups who are open to this health threat interestingly enough, because of the socio-economic position that they sometimes find themselves in.
Yes, actually there was a whole track on social and structural drivers. Now, in most African countries, as you may be aware, HIV is generalized, is in the general population. And then you have got vulnerable groups like young women. But in many other countries, it is still a key population infection. So you have people who are like LGBTQIT plus, as we call them, sex workers, men who have sex with men, people who use drugs. It's a disease which is, or a virus which is mostly confined to that. Now, those issues were really tackled. There are also other issues which are bringing in more vulnerabilities that are coming up globally, like conflicts. If you look at the war in Ukraine, the conflict in Gaza, it has got huge implications in terms of us reaching the 2030 targets. Yes, so there has been a lot of talk about this particular drug which is being rolled out is really talking about not so much people who are infected with HIV, but making sure that those who are not infected are never infected. So it's really a preventative drug. That is why it was very, very interesting. And I need to say a little bit more about this drug. Why is it such a star? Is because we already have drugs which are quite effective to prevent PrEP. So it sometimes is a pill a day. You take a pill a day. Especially for those groups which are high at risk, more vulnerable. But this drug which they spoke about, it's an injection which is given twice per year, only twice per year. Now, you can see that people found it very tolerant, hardly any side effects, and it's something that people would like to take. But also you can imagine, people were talking about who are on drugs, HIV drugs, how they have to hide their pills sometimes because of stigma-related issues. But with this injection, someone will go get an injection twice per year, even if you have got a partner that you think might infect you, or even if the partner is positive, then you actually are protected. And the big thing is that not only is it preventative or does it protect, it protects 100%, whereas the other drugs, which are quite effective, do not really protect or prevent the HIV 100%. So that's why it is such a big issue now and a game changer in terms of the path for us to reach 2030.
Absolutely. And hopefully we'll be able to make sure that there's an equitable distribution of this new innovation. Reverend Zwoitwaho Nevhutalu, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. The Rev is with the South African National AIDS Council, reflecting on that gathering that took place in Munich, that's in Germany.